So it's a little bit annoying to have to do Gauss-Jordan elimination by hand, especially if you have a system of like 3 equations or 4 equations. So I'm going to show you how to have technology do it for you, basically. You could do this with a standard like graphing calculator, but we're actually just going to use Desmos, so we don't have to drag those out. So in Safari, this is not part of the like built-in Desmos graphing calculator app or anything. You'll have to go to www.desmos.com/matrix, or you can Google Desmos matrix calculator. It should bring up a page that looks like this, and we want to put our system of equations in augmented matrix form. So I'm going to hit new matrix, and for part A that I am doing over here, I'm going to, maybe if this will, oops, Apple Pencil. Ha. For part A that I'm doing over here, I'm going to need a 2-row and 3-column augmented matrix. So I'm going to type my coefficients in here and my constant on the right hand side. There's no like vertical bar to separate these when you're typing them in, so don't freak out. It knows that the right hand column is going to be my augmented part of my matrix, my constants. Okay, so I typed my new matrix in. You could have changed your rows and columns down there. I just kind of did it. Hopefully you noticed I changed it. It's rows and columns down in the bottom left. So then I'm going to go ahead and hit the blue like arrow for enter. Now matrix A is typed in. Our goal when we're doing Gauss-Jordan elimination is to put them in what's called row reduced echelon form. Big fancy word, which basically means get ones along the diagonal and zeros everywhere else like we're doing by hand. So I'm going to hit this RREF, which stands for row reduced echelon form button, in my Desmos window. And then I want to pick matrix A that I just typed in. And then I don't even really have to hit enter, but I can to kind of store my calculation, and it'll give you out what that matrix will look like in row reduced echelon form. So in row reduced echelon form, I got out the matrix 1, 0, -3, 0, 1, 0. Which, remember, in systems of equations form is telling us x equals, so this is my x column, -3, and y equals 0. And that's the solution to my system of equations. Now, the key on these is basically just make sure you're typing them incorrectly. So if you look at like our equation on B here, I skipped my x term and there are 0 x's in there. So you're going to have to make sure that when you come over to type it in, you do go ahead and put a 0 in your matrix for a placeholder. So I already typed this in over here, but it should look like what I have in matrix B right there. And then I can again just say, hey, I want this in row reduced echelon form. And then this time I'm going to tell it to do matrix B because that's where I typed in my augmented matrix. And then it's going to spit out my result, and we're going to end up with x equals 2, y equals 1, and z equals -1. Okay, let's take a look at this next one. I think we have to write and solve. Okay, so we are trying to find 3 numbers whose sum is 20. First number is 3 times the difference between the second and the third, and the second number is 2 more than twice the third. Okay, so let's call my numbers x, y, and z. Their sum is 20. So let's do x plus y plus z equals 20. If x is my first number, I'm told that first number, x, is 3 times the difference between the second and the third. So the difference between the second and the third would be what you get when you subtract x and y from one another. And my first number, x, is equal to 3 times that. So it's going to look like, if my notability would not change my 3 into a stupid triangle, it's going to look like x equals 3 times the quantity y minus z. And then my second number, which is y, is 2 more than twice the third. So twice the third would be 2 times z, and my y is 3 more than that, so I'll have to add 3 to that. So here's my system. These are not in a form that are ready to type into a graphing calculator. I need to go ahead and do some simplifying here and put these into a form where they are ready to type in. So let me multiply my 3 in here and distribute. And then I want my constants on one side and my variables on the other. So I'm going to subtract 3y, add 3z over, leaving me 0 on the right-hand side. And then here, I'll subtract my 2z, leaving me y minus 2z equals 3. And then here are my 3 equations that are ready to type in and use row-reduced echelon form or Gauss-Jordan method to get their values of. So if I type those in, let's see, I'm going to need a 3-row, oops, too many rows, and 4-column matrix. One thing that I did notice when I started to type things in here is you can use these like arrow over buttons. You don't have to like tap every little box when you're typing things in. You could just arrow from one to the next. 1, -1, or -3 actually. 3, 0. Don't forget your placeholder 0 for x in the last equation. Boom. Put that in row-reduced echelon form for matrix C. And then this one, you might notice it spat out some decimals and approximations here. We do not want those, so hit this little thing that looks like the circle with the fraction in it on the right there, and have it turn your matrix into fraction form. So our result for our 3 numbers, these are not whole numbers. The 3 numbers are 13, 17 over 13, and 4 over 3.